There are truths buried so deep inside the souls of the chosen that they can barely be spoken aloud. Truths that burn in silence, like embers beneath the skin. They surface in strange dreams, in electric pulses beneath the surface, in a sudden chill or a warmth that rises from nowhere. And though the world may admire your light, there are parts of you it will never understand. Parts you've barely dared to face yourself. From the outside, you might look ordinary. No visible sign on your skin, no crown of fire hovering above your head. But inside, you carry a frequency that doesn't belong to this world. You feel too much. You see too deeply. You desire what is unseen. And that depth shapes everything. The way you walk through life, the way you love, and yes, even the way you experience your sexuality. And this is where the silence begins. Because when people speak of spirituality, they paint pictures of peace, stillness, meditation, divine light. But what they rarely admit is this: every light casts a shadow. And for the chosen ones, that shadow hides in a place few dare to look. In the way they feel desire, in the way they love, in the intense, strange mystery of their intimacy. I'm not talking about the sexuality sold on magazine covers. I'm not talking about the shallow connection the world calls pleasure. I'm talking about something ancient, something holy, a force that moves through your veins like a current of raw creation. It shows up without warning, in moments of stillness, in dreams that feel far too real. It's strange, it's powerful, it's sacred, and you were told to hide it, to silence the visions, the urges, the invisible touch, to bury the part of you that didn't fit the definition of light. But what if this part of you, the part you were taught to fear, is actually part of your calling? What if hiding it is what truly wounds you? Because here is the truth. If your desires have ever felt different, if your intimacy feels heavier, deeper, harder to explain than anyone else's, you are not broken. You are not wrong. You are chosen. And today, we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring to light what most people are too afraid to speak, because the soul of the chosen carries codes the world hasn't yet learned how to read. And in this video, we're going to move through layers no one else dares to touch, so that you can finally see yourself clearly, without shame, without masks, without fear. But before we begin, I want to ask you for one simple thing. If at any moment in this video you feel like I'm speaking directly to you, if something I say hits a nerve, leave a comment with the number 99. That number carries power. It symbolizes the closing of a cycle and the rebirth of truth, just like the silence you're about to break. Your comment might be the sign someone else needed to feel seen and understood. And if you're new here, subscribe now. We're getting close to reaching 2,000 souls on this channel, and you being here helps us grow this sacred space, a space for truth, for depth, for the conversations no one else is having. Stay with me, because in just a moment, we're going to uncover the first and most mysterious sexual habit of the chosen ones. A secret so taboo, most wouldn't even dare admit it to themselves. Imagine this. It's the middle of the night. The room is still. The world is silent. And yet, your heart is racing. Your skin is alive with a heat you can't explain. Your breath quickens. And for a moment, it feels as if someone, or something, is touching you. Except, there is no one there. At least not anyone you can see. To most, this sounds like a dream. To others, a fantasy. But for the chosen ones, it's a memory. A reality they never asked for but can't deny. There is a phenomenon so secret, so sacred, and so misunderstood that few dare to speak it aloud. And yet, countless chosen ones carry it silently in their story. Sexual encounters with beings from the unseen realm, not imagination, not hallucination, but actual energetic experiences with spirits, entities, guides, or forces from dimensions we don't yet have names for. They arrive in the space between sleep and waking, that fragile liminal place where the body is still, but the soul is wide awake. In that threshold, you might feel a hand brush your skin, lips pressed gently against yours, a whisper you can't decipher, followed by a wave of energy so intense it leaves your body trembling. For some, it's tender, like being reunited with a lover from another lifetime. For others, it's overwhelming, a force that moves through you as if unlocking parts of yourself you never knew existed. And here is where it becomes both sacred and dangerous, because sex, for the chosen, is not merely physical. It is a portal. And when a soul vibrating at a heightened frequency enters that portal, the gateway opens wider than it does for most. What happens in the body is just the surface. What happens in energy runs much deeper. This is why these experiences happen more often to chosen ones. Your energy field is open, your light is exposed. You are tuned to frequencies most people can't hear, and that signal becomes a beacon. But not every being who hears it comes with love. Some come to heal, some come to guide, and others come to take. Ancient traditions knew this. In tantric temples, in shamanic rites, in moonlit ceremonies led by priestesses and seers, there were whispered stories. Stories of spirit lovers, of visitations in the night, of unions that awakened power or drained life. Some were seen as divine, sacred initiations into higher consciousness. Others were warnings, spiritual traps, that fed off the life force of those they touched. But in today's world, no one talks about this. Mention it, and you're mocked. Confide in the wrong person, and you're told you're delusional. Speak it to certain religious figures, and you're told it's demonic. So, you stay silent. And in that silence, this experience either shapes you with awareness or shapes you without your consent. Because these encounters leave marks, not on your skin, but on your energy. Some leave you light, as if you were cleansed in the night. Others leave you heavy, as if something sacred was quietly taken from you while you slept. And this is where the choice appears. Do you open the door with intention, discernment, and protection? Or do you let it swing open in the dark, hoping nothing dangerous walks through? Because whether you welcome it or deny it, the truth remains, for the chosen one, the unseen realm is not just a place you visit in dreams. It's a place that visits you, and that is only the beginning. You want it, you dream of it, you ache for it, that primal longing to be close, to be touched, to share breath and warmth and skin with someone whose presence stirs your spirit. And yet, when the moment arrives, something inside you freezes, as if an invisible voice whispers, "Not now, not with them, not like this." This isn't shyness, it isn't fear of intimacy, it's something far more mysterious. For many, chosen ones, abstinence is not a choice. It is a command, a quiet instruction that seems to rise not from the mind but from the soul itself. You may be standing inches from someone you love, the air heavy with desire, and yet the current disappears. The fire goes cold. Your body becomes still, guarded, as if an unseen guardian stepped between you and the other person. To the outside world, it looks like rejection, like distance. Friends may ask, "Don't you miss it? What's wrong with you?" Partners may feel hurt, confused, wondering if it's their fault. And you start to wonder if something is broken inside you. But the truth is this: you are not broken. You are protected. The chosen one's energy field is sensitive, sacred, and it does not open for everyone. It feels what the mind cannot. It senses the hidden fears, the unresolved wounds, the emotional debris another soul carries. And if that energy is not in alignment with yours, your soul will refuse the union, not out of fear, but out of self-preservation. This is why, for some chosen ones, abstinence is not a phase. It becomes a A season where your bed stays cold, not because you've lost the hunger, but because your soul refuses to settle for less than truth. It's a sacred kind of loneliness. But make no mistake, it's still loneliness. You scroll past images of intimacy. You hear songs that speak of touch and heat, and something deep in your chest aches. But still, your body says no. Not yet, not them, and the world doesn't understand. Because we live in an age of instant pleasure, quick love, disposable connection. But for the chosen one, intimacy without depth feels like betrayal. Betrayal of self, of calling, of something ancient inside you that knows, I was not made to give myself away halfway. When I open, it must be sacred. And here is the hardest part. You can't explain this to just anyone. Try, and you sound strange. Try, and people question your health, your desire, your truth. So you stay silent. You walk the path alone. You bury the longing under layers of purpose and work and prayer. And the silence grows. But underneath it all, there is a blessing in this abstinence. It is not deprivation. It is recalibration. Your body, your energy, your spirit, they are cleansing, preparing, refining, getting ready for a connection that will not only touch your skin, but awaken your soul. This is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. To wait, not out of fear, but out of faith, because when the chosen one loves, they love with all dimensions, and they will not open for a love that is only half alive. Until then, they remain quiet, not to hide, but to preserve, to protect the sacred fire they carry, because the one who will meet them must carry fire too. It begins softly. You're not even looking for it. You walk into a room, a street, a moment, and your attention locks. Not because they're the most beautiful, not because they're charming, but because something in them feels broken. And you feel it, you always feel it. Their pain hums beneath the surface, like a melody only you can hear. And something in you moves, without permission, not in pity, not in ego, but in remembrance. It's as if your soul whispers, I know that wound. I've been there. I can help you find your way back. And that's how it starts. Not a crush, not infatuation, but a gravitational pull. The healer's instinct disguised as love. Suddenly the connection becomes intense. Conversations stretch deep into the night. You share secrets that take others years to earn. You feel seen, and they feel saved. And when intimacy arrives, it's not casual. It's not light. It's as if your body is trying to stitch their heart back together. With every touch, every breath, every surrender. But here is the danger. When love becomes medicine, you forget that you're not their cure. You give, and give, and give. And sometimes, yes, they begin to heal. They begin to breathe differently. But that healing doesn't always mean they stay. Some leave once they feel whole again. Others keep taking until there's nothing left of you and you're left standing in the ruins, empty, confused, asking yourself for the 1,000th time, why do I always choose those who cannot stay? Why does it feel like love only arrives in broken bodies? Here's why. Because many chosen ones were sent to heal. That is part of your divine mission, to bring light into dark places. But when mission and romance intertwine, the heart often pays the price. And the pattern becomes a cycle you can't escape, because when you meet someone whose pain mirrors your past, you want to reach for them. You want to walk with them. You want to help them find the pieces they lost. But too often, you end up walking that road alone. You give more than you receive. You pour until you are dry. And somewhere in the middle of it all, you forget what it feels like to be chosen, not for what you give, but for who you are. This pattern, it leaves a mark. You begin to associate love with exhaustion, with heartbreak, with the ache of holding someone who cannot hold you back. And that kind of repetition makes you question yourself. Am I truly looking for love? Or just for someone to save? Do I love? Or do I rescue? And this is the heartbreak of the chosen one's heart. It is both healer and seeker. And until you learn to guard it, that sacred drive to mend others will keep wearing your soul down to the bone. If you've lived this, say it. Comment 99 below if this spoke to you. Let the world know that the healer's heart is real, and it feels both beautiful and devastating. Your words might be the lifeline someone else was silently praying for. For most people, sex is just sex. A release, a moment, a flicker of pleasure wrapped in skin and sweat. But for the chosen ones, it is something else entirely. Something that doesn't fit within the world's definitions. Something older than language, deeper than the body, holier than religion dares to admit. For the chosen, intimacy begins long before a body is touched. It begins with energy, with intention, with the feeling that something spiritual is about to unfold, not in the heavens, but within you. You prepare the space like one would prepare an altar. You light candles not for beauty, but for presence. You cleanse the air as if summoning clarity. You whisper invocations, call on your guides, breathe in rhythm, not to perform, but to become a channel, a living temple. Because when you finally touch, it's not just a kiss, it's a seal. It's not just a caress. It's a current, energy moving between dimensions. And when climax comes, it is not the end, but the opening. A moment where a doorway is flung wide and something ancient comes through. You may not have been taught this, but you remember it, in your bones, in your breath, in your soul. Because in lifetimes long before this one, you lived it. You were the priestess, the mystic, the initiate, the one who knew that sacred union wasn't just about pleasure. It was about creation, channeling, and change. Tantric traditions knew this. Shamans practiced this. Temple rituals honored this. They spoke of orgasm as a portal, a gateway to vision, prophecy, transformation. They understood that sexual energy, when guided with intention, could manifest miracles or destroy timelines, because this energy is life force, and when wielded by a soul as sensitive as yours, it becomes a flame, one that can warm, heal, expand, or burn everything to ash. This is why many chosen ones keep this practice hidden, because the world, with its shallow lens, misunderstands it, corrupts it, reduces it to fantasy or fetish, when in truth, this is devotion. And, like any true power, it comes with risk. To open a portal through sexual energy without awareness is like striking a match in a forest. It might light your path, or it might consume the whole forest. Because not every union invites light. Some call in energies that take instead of give, that bind instead of free. And yet, when entered with reverence, consciousness, and mastery, this path becomes one of the most potent forms of spiritual transformation available to a human soul. It is the art of weaving desire and divinity into a single flame. A flame that does not merely warm your body, but reshapes your destiny. This is the gift and the burden of the chosen one. To feel sex not as a need, but as a ritual, a practice, a sacred offering. To carry this level of sensitivity is not easy. It sets you apart, it isolates, but it also awakens power that most will never touch. And for those who dare to walk this path consciously, there comes a moment when sex becomes more than a union between two bodies. It becomes a reunion with your own soul. There is a truth the spiritual world rarely dares to speak, that the brighter your light, the deeper your shadow. For the chosen ones, that shadow often doesn't come in the form of cruelty, greed, or violence. No, it hides in a more vulnerable place. A more human place. A place so intimate, so emotionally charged, that most carry it like a secret they swear never to reveal. It hides in your desires, not the ones you talk about. Not the ones that are easy to confess, but the ones that confuse you. The ones that don't match the version of yourself the world sees. The longings that whisper in your bones late at night and leave you wondering, How can someone so connected to the divine feel something so raw, so dark, so intense, so contradictory to the image of light I've tried so hard to protect? For some, it's the urge to dominate, not out of cruelty, but from a place deeper than thought. The instinct to take full control, to command, to claim completely. For others, it's the opposite. The aching desire to surrender so fully that every boundary dissolves. To be taken, held, undone. And to the surface world, these urges seem like a paradox. But to the soul, they are something else entirely. They are echoes. You have lived lifetimes before this one. Lifetimes of power, lifetimes of submission. As rulers, servants, priestesses, warriors, ascetics, you've held the staff of control. You've worn the chains of obedience. You've carried vows of chastity, and you've tasted lives of absolute indulgence. These lives don't just vanish. They leave fingerprints on your energy. They shape the way your body responds, the way your soul remembers. And when two souls meet in trust, when power and surrender are held with reverence, those dynamics can become sacred theater. Not distortion, not shame, but a form of healing. In the right hands, the dominant becomes protector, guiding, guarding, holding space. In the right heart, the submissive becomes courageous, choosing vulnerability as a path to freedom. When these forces are entered with consent, awareness, and spiritual grounding, they can rewrite ancient scripts. They can transform trauma into trust, fear into freedom. But when they are entered unconsciously, they spiral into obsession, into dependency, into shame disguised as love. And so many chosen ones choose to hide. They fear that if the world saw this part of them, this shadow laced in desire, they would be cast out, that the light they've fought to carry would be questioned, that their calling would be stained. So they live split. One part glowing with spiritual insight, the other tucked away in silence, longing, secrecy. But here's the truth. Your shadow is not the opposite of your calling. It's part of it. Because the path of the chosen is not a path of perfection. It's a path of integration. You were never meant to be all light. You were never asked to transcend your human experience. You were asked to become whole, to walk with your light and your shadow in the same body, not at war, but in union. Because those desires you've buried, they are maps. Maps to your wounds, maps to your purpose, maps to the places within you that still seek to be met with love instead of shame. And when brought into the light, when honored instead of hidden, those desires become doors. Doors that do not trap you in darkness, but lead you toward liberation. If you've come this far, it means something in you already knew. You didn't need permission. You didn't need someone to tell you that your path was real. But still, it helps to hear it out loud, doesn't it? That you're not alone. That your story is not madness. That the things you've kept hidden, questioned, buried in silence, were never shameful. They were sacred, complex, beautiful, messy, real. And maybe for the first time, you've allowed yourself to listen without judgment, to feel seen without explaining, to remember without running. Because here is the truth that lives beneath everything we've explored. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole. The world has given you two impossible options: spirituality without desire, or desire without depth. But you were born to walk between both, to live in the fire and not be consumed, to love with your body and your soul, aligned, not in conflict, but in communion. For too long, the chosen ones have lived in exile, not by force, but by fragmentation, hiding the parts that didn't fit into the spiritual mold, wearing light like a costume, when what the soul longed for was truth, depth, integration. But that time is ending. Because awakening is not about floating above your humanity, it's about descending fully into it. Not to drown, but to redeem what was left behind. The strange urges, the spiritual visitations, the magnetic pull toward broken souls. The involuntary abstinence, the sacred rituals behind closed doors, none of it disqualifies you from being chosen. If anything, it proves that you are. Because the chosen ones don't walk simple paths. They walk through contradictions. They carry paradox like a second skin. They are the living bridge between what is holy and what is human. And yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's isolating. Yes, it's misunderstood. But the cost of hiding has become too great, hasn't it? Because when you silence this part of yourself, the primal, sacred, untamed part, you don't just lose pleasure, you lose power. You cut off the current that was meant to move through you, not just for your own healing, but for the healing of others. You were never meant to be a statue of purity. You were meant to be alive, vibrant, complex, overflowing with light and fire, shadow and spirit. And yes, there will still be those who misunderstand you, who fear your depth, who label your intimacy as too much, your boundaries as cold, your truth as inappropriate. Let them, because you're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to stand as a mirror for those who are ready to remember who they are. Your journey is not just about sex. It never was. It's about the language of your soul, written in pulses of energy, dreams you can't explain, urges that don't follow the rules, and a love that reaches far beyond skin. It's about coming home to yourself, without shame, without hiding, without apology. And now, the invitation is in your hands. To no longer dilute your fire, just to make others comfortable. To no longer silence your truth, just to fit inside someone else's definition of holy. To no longer wait for someone to give you permission to feel everything that's already alive in you. Because the shadow you carry is not a flaw. It is a source of power. And when you finally choose to embrace it, not recklessly, but reverently, you don't just heal yourself. You become a light for others still trapped in the dark. So if these words spoke to something buried in you, don't let them fade when the video ends. Let them echo. Let them anchor. Let them move something real in your life. And if you haven't already, leave the number 99 in the comments, not just for you, but for the ones silently watching who need to know they're not alone. And if you feel called to walk deeper into these truths, to keep exploring the hidden reality of what it means to be chosen, subscribe now. We are on the path to 2,000 souls here, and you are one of them. Until next time, thank you for your presence, for your openness, for your courage to see yourself fully. I honor your light. I honor your darkness. And I honor the extraordinary journey you've walked to be exactly who you are.